Welcome to the Highly Skeptical Podcast with Tim Mora and Ryan Starbloke. Today's episode is going to be talking about transgenderism. We're going to be talking about the issue from both sides. Now, transgenderism is defined in Webster as of, relating to, or being a person whose gender identity differs from the sex the person had or was identified as having at birth. Especially of, relating to, or being a person whose gender identity is opposite the sex the person had or was identified as having at birth. So today, we thought it would be a good idea to have our friend Dean come in the podcast. So the first question I want to ask you, Dean, is who are you?
All right, so I am Dean Logan Doss, 28 years old, about almost 2 years into my transition. Just here to clear up, I guess, some of the questions and whatnot of what people might wonder about transgender individuals.
Well, thanks for coming in, Dean. We just wanted our people listening to know that this is going to be taken very seriously. Whether you believe in transgenderism or not, it's a real thing that a lot of people are dealing with. And I think this will help mold us into more understanding people. From here on, Ryan, let's get right into it.
Absolutely. The first question we wanted to ask you, now we gave you the Webster definition. We are two straight white males reading out of the dictionary here, so we don't really understand at all. But what does being transgender mean to you?
It means being happy, being, comfortable with me and the body I was supposed to have, just being yourself, not living a life that isn't you, not living a lie anymore or anything like that,
How long do you feel like you've been living that line now?
My entire life.
Yeah.
Entire life.
When this started off, like how young were you, man?
Well, I can say, as a child, elementary school, I used to steal my older brother's clothes. Didn't want to wear the dresses and the skirts and what my mom used to try to make me wear. I always knew something was different, something was wrong. Never felt, like I was comfortable in the body I had. Used to tell my mom all the time, I wasn't supposed to be in this body, that, me and my brother must have been switched or somehow something wasn't right.
There's a big schism happening in our society today, and it's a very topical issue, transgenderism. I think the easiest way that you split these camps down in the middle is just with one statement. On one side, you have people that say there are more than two genders. And then you have people say, no, that's not true. Transgenderism is a mental illness. So we wanted to bring out some points from both sides. And the first example that I wanted to furnish was Judith Butler. She's one of the proponents that there are more than two genders. She's a philosopher, and some of the things that she talks about is that gender is not internal. Gender is cultural and sex is biological, and that there's a marked difference there. And this is something that philosophers and psychiatrists and psychologists are starting to get in the camp of saying, and they're starting to back this up a lot with empirical evidence. Now, the other side of the issue is something that I, didn't really put a lot of credence into until I heard something about it. It's the idea that trans is just a mental illness, and I used to think okay, well, why are people saying that? Why is it so simplistic? Everything like that. And then I heard some stuff that Ben Shapiro was talking about. Basically, when he talks about mental illness, he's always citing the suicide rate statistics. And so my question for you, Dean, is why do you feel the suicide rates amongst trans is so high?
I think that it's got a lot to do with just understanding and just letting people be. So many people in the world nowadays, they care about what other people are doing too much, instead of just caring and worrying about themselves. They worry about, what's going on in other people's lives, whereas they should just, worry about yourself.
When you say worry about yourself, I think what I gather from worry about yourself is you're talking about worry about your own personal issues, what's going on. However, focusing on transgenderism, you feel that there needs to be more educational.
Absolutely, yes, 100%.
So worry about your own personal life,
right?
Obviously, but be self-aware of transgenderism,
right?
What's going on around you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, if you don't understand it, do more to help yourself understand it before you knock it, and
do your research.
Right.
Talk to people.
Exactly.
I think that's the important part, is actually doing the actual talking to people. Actually, luckily, you're our friend and we have you close by. I mean, I gotta be honest with you, man. When you told me that you were transgender, I remember we were at the bar. I was fucking drunk as a skunk, and you told me that, and I I didn't know what the fuck you were talking about. Like, I was like, you're going on about yours and your boyfriend's relationship, and I think I kind of made a little bit of joke. I was like, oh yeah, you know, gay sex in the ass or some shit like that.
Something like that,
There's
yeah.
other ways to go about it.
Right,
like,
right.
And I totally blanked on that. I didn't understand. I was like, oh yeah, you get fucking in the mouth, you get fucking the ear, the nostril, you know, wherever it fits. I like armpits. Armpits are some of my favorite.
Sex.
Armpit sex.
I wasn't expecting the podcast.
I mean,
I
just kind of
put
feel.
a
I
little,
don't know.
degree, put a little bit of speed stick gel on.
It might help with the you know, the smell after.
I
Yeah.
think the technical term is auxiliary sex. I think I saw that on Wikipedia once.
I like that. I like that. But anyways, that's what I kind of thought like you were getting to, and then when you finally came out and you're like, oh, I have female parts, I was taken back. I was like, no fucking way, I can't believe it. I didn't see you any other way because I look at you, you're just one of the guys. You know, you're just one of the guys. You are a guy.
And that's how I've always been.
One of the dudes. We just hang out, drink whiskey, or we drink, you know, whatever you drink, the vodka. Drink that vodka and Red Bull.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yep, that's what it is.
So I mean, there's nothing like that. Really opened my eyes because I've never actually dealt with somebody that. Usually, any transgender I've met, physically, I could take a look at them and be like, oh, that's obviously she or he was obviously born of, you know, a certain sex. You
Right.
can see that with some people. I mean, obviously, are you doing hormonal treatments right now?
Yes, I am.
Well, it seems to be going really great, man.
Yep.
A mustache better than Ryan's. But anyways, not to get too far off subject, hormone therapy seems to be working for you. Are you comfortable with it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's my favorite day of the week. Every 2 weeks, I get a shot, and I look forward to it every time. Every time.
Sure. What does it do? Like, how does it make you feel? Like, is it like when you get the injection? Is it like a feeling of relief? Do you feel like you could finally, like, you're one step closer to being yourself? Do you feel relief?
Absolutely. I mean, now, like actual feeling, you don't really feel anything. You know, I'll take my shot, and it's just.
Okay.
I mean, I get soreness in my muscle. That's about it. That's the only actual physical feeling I get.
You don't
but
get you don't get like this like aura and everything.
No. I mean, I do, but I don't like. I mean, of course, it's in my mind. You know, it's all right. One step closer. You know,
So,
it's
it's just become a part of your life.
Exactly.
It's something you do every 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Go to the doctor, get a shot.
actually I do it myself now.
Oh, you do it yourself?
Do it myself.
Good.
Yeah.
Where do you inject it?
In my thigh muscle.
thigh?
Yep.
Shit.
I like to feel the muscle soreness after. So like I said, I don't feel anything when I give my shot.
So if you were to inject that in your thigh and you do a lot of squats, are you going to get big leg muscles?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not very sure about that.
Because if so, I'm going to start taking some extra hormones myself.
I mean, it's exactly. It is testosterone, which is what steroids are. So it's just a normal, regular dose, not too much of it. So you won't see me roid raging or anything.
How long do you have to do this treatment?
My entire life.
Your entire life?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In the long run, it won't be as often, but it will be.
So would your body, if you do enough like testosterone injections, would your body end up making like? So obviously you have to do testosterone injections, hormone therapy, all that. At any time, does your hormone does your testosterone levels increase naturally at all, or because you still have lady parts, it just sticks to that?
No, I mean
like with steroids, in men with steroids. If you take too much, you don't have that secondary or that blocker, that estrogen blocker.
Right.
It increases your estrogen
Right.
levels because your testosterone's so high you end up with bitch tits.
Actually, no, it doesn't. It doesn't do all that. My levels when I get blood work done every time I go to the doctor, which is every 3 months, and not this last time, but the time it was. I want to say probably about 3 months into starting my injections, I ended up having to have my shot cut down in half because my levels ended up becoming higher than the average males. My body already produced more testosterone than a normal average person, I guess, female or male.
Okay.
So that also, I guess, helps with this transition and the looks and everything.
Yeah.
But it just I don't take any blockers or anything like that.
Okay.
I don't I myself don't need to. Now I do have friends that do take blockers because their body is different than mine. It produces, their hormones differently. So it really is just depends on the body.
And those hormone injections that covers everything. Like it makes your voice deeper, everything like that.
Yep, changes a lot.
Body hair.
Facial, yes, I haven't.
Because I got a lot of ass hair. So.
My leg hair, yeah. I used to not get hair on like my knees or my thighs, and now I do.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't see too much more of the hair.
Oh fuck, man! I'll trade you. Take my ass hair, and
I'm good.
I'll
baby.
I'm
gonna pass on that. I appreciate the offer, but I'm gonna pass.
It's like an afro. It's like fucking afro, man. Have you ever seen Black Dynamite? That movie, Black Dynamite.
Yes.
It's like his afro on my ass. It's bad. It is bad. Really curly, thick.
All right.
It even talks.
All right, Tim.
No, I was just saying. If I pull down my pants right now and say, "What you talking about, Willis?" Anyways, let's continue, Ryan.
So the next thing I would like to bring up that has nothing to do with ass hair, just as a preamble.
It's not just about ass hair.
Ass hair we're getting to talk about it. Looking forward to that.
So obviously, being a transgender person, you'd say there's nothing inherently wrong with being trans. This is something that you chose with your free will that you wanted to do. So for the general population, how do you move them from this mentality that it's something that you're experiencing as a mental illness? How do you point out that it's possible that it might be a problem for them as a culture for how we treat transgenderism rather than transgender itself being the issue?
So once again, we started off with just understanding and education. I think a lot of people just don't understand. I know a lot of them don't want to. They have their mind set on that it's, it's a mental illness or that it's wrong or whatever. I think if you, like y'all are doing, just picking the brain of a transgender person and just, allowing yourself to be a little bit open-minded and understand, then it could change a lot of different things with the way people think and see transgender individuals.
Very good.
Do you find it more important to help people understand what transgenderism is, or do you find it more important to help yourself understand what you're going through?
I think it would be, others who don't understand it. It took me a while to understand and realize that it was okay, for me or anyone to do it. But that is also, the issue with society is that it took me 27 years to realize that it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't wrong. Like I said, it's just education and understanding is all it is.
Yeah, I think the most recent thing that's come up with transgenderism and in the news was, of course, Trump's military policy that he's banning trans people from the military. And I think the biggest issue with that is he didn't say anything explicitly against trans people or saying they were this and that. It was simply a ban without any reason. Right. So do you feel like it's better or worse for him to have kept it ambiguous, or is that the worst part of all, that he can't just straight out say?
I believe that there should have been an explanation with it. I think that would have made things, no matter what the explanation was, the fact that it was just so broad and general and just put the ban there and with no reasoning behind it. I mean, I'm sure he had reason, but he didn't, say what it was. I think that may have made things a little bit worse for people who disagreed with it. I mean, if you're going to do something like that, there should always be an explanation behind it.
Right. And I mean, because then you can just extrapolate reasons from there, but you don't ever really have an answer.
When it comes to being transgender now, you also have to realize that there's a lot of mental things too, which can affect your job in the military. Now, let's say you're out in combat or whatever, and you can't get your shot or your hormone therapy at the time.
Which you won't be able to.
And that can affect, your mentality and your mind and things like that. Just recently, I went about 3 months maybe without a shot. And I've had some bad days, in my head.
So it fucks with you mentally.
It does. And like I said, everybody's different. Everyone is different. So I'm not going to say that goes for every transgender person. It's just, even if you're not transgender, everybody's got their own issues, their own, things that they deal with in their head and stuff like that. But it's a balance of hormones. So, you have to realize that does affect your entire body, not just, the physical part, not just, your hormone levels. It can affect your mind, and you don't want to be on the front line and just not be in the right state of mind. So I do think that there's a lot more to it. I don't want to say I agree or disagree with the ban. I just think that there's a lot more behind it.
I think like more research needs to be done into it.
Exactly.
I myself, I'm a combat veteran.
Hoorah!
Well, I was Army, so that would be hooah, but
Very close. Very close enough, Ryan.
But when you talk about the mental effects, do you feel like there's any like physical effects or anything like that? Like, do you feel like, does your body feel weaker? Do you feel sick or
not necessarily? There's not. I don't want to say there's like any type of like withdrawal or any type of effect like that. I mean, now it does. The hormones that I'm on, the testosterone does build muscle, so the only thing would be like you lose a little bit of muscle, pretty much. That would be the only about physical part for me, at least. Like I said, everybody's different. I don't really have too much of like a withdrawal type of effect. I mean, of course I want it back in my system, but it doesn't I don't get sick or anything like that without it. It's just normal day for me.
How do you feel about public bathrooms? That seems to be a big thing.
Yeah, it's another media issue
right there.
Doesn't bother me.
Does it? Well, yeah, it doesn't bother you because you get to go anywhere.
I mean, and I also don't have any. I have none of the parts to use those bathrooms, and I would still walk in and just go.
Well, yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about the whole bathroom thing is, I know myself. I go to the bathroom to take a piss, take a shit,
right?
Rub one out. Go along my day.
Public bathrooms too.
I mean, I can.
Absolutely.
I can understand.
Absolutely. You got one locked in the chamber. You got to fire it out, man.
It's good that we're different. I can understand completely where some people's thoughts come in with that. But at the end of the day, what you need to realize is the bathroom is there for one thing only. What
so
you are exactly, and what a lot of the argument of, oh, I don't want my child in the bathroom with somebody like that who could possibly molest them or rape them. You have the wrong type of person, I guess you could say, in mind when you're thinking of this.
Here's the thing, and I understand that completely. Now, what it seems to be doing is we're giving transgenders the right to choose the bathroom that they so choose to go into. Now, we're giving transgenders that right, but I in a way, we're kind of taking away the right of the other people to feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
So we're taking one to make somebody else feel comfortable, but we're also taking that right of another person to feel comfortable.
I completely agree with that. 100%, I do. Not every woman is going to want to go to the bathroom with a man dressed like a woman. And I don't mean that in any bad way or any wrong way or anything like that. This is just how those some people see it. They don't understand. Once again, it all falls back with just understanding. You also have to keep in mind, though, that the whole comfortable issue also falls on both parties. Transgender people want to feel comfortable. Like, imagine me walking into a woman's restroom. What do you think's going to happen?
Wow. Well, you're gonna get looked at really weird because you look exactly.
Yeah, just for anyone that doesn't have a visual.
Or how do you feel? How's that work? Like if a man that's dressed like a man, but he feels like a woman and he goes into a woman's restroom. So it seems like it's a dress thing. Like if you dress the part, it's okay. But if you have these internal feelings and you're not dressed the part, it's not okay. Is that kind of how it is? Or
there's just a lot that we need to just kind of figure out as a whole. We figure out what works for everyone. Whether it be a family restroom, or I don't want to say transgender people need their own bathroom, because then that puts them in a category that they don't want to be in. They're just trying to be the gender they believe or feel that they should have been from birth. But I also understand the whole point of how anyone else would feel about having somebody like that come in the bathroom.
There's a church in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I went to it with my friend Heather. It's a universal church. Can't remember what it's actually called. What's that?
It's a Unitarian Universalist.
Unitarian, yeah.
Yes.
It was a Unitarian church. I went to the restroom. There's a big sign on the door. It said something along the lines of, "This restroom is for anybody and everybody who is on this earth together." Is something
so
like that.
Precious.
And I didn't like that. It's like, why do you got to make a big deal about it?
Right.
It's just like, go in there, take a piss, whatever. Right. Let's hold hands, sing Kumbaya. I don't care.
I mean, exactly. If you're not in there, it's the bathroom.
The only thing I give a shit about in a bathroom is if you wash your hands. I don't give a shit. I judge you more on if you wash your hands. If you don't wash your hands, you're a fucking real piece of shit in my book. That's all I care about. Wash your fucking hands. Yep. To all of you listening out there, when you use the restroom, wash your fucking hands.
I mean, you don't know what's in that bathroom, so. Yeah, I agree.
Especially when I get out of there.
And not only that, it's not just you, because I'm sure there's plenty of people just like you out there, Tim.
No,
so.
I'm clean.
So, parents, don't worry about transgender people using your bathrooms. Worry about Tim.
Yeah, worry about Tim.
Alrighty, so the next thing that I wanted to get into was talking about poverty and sort of the different classes and things you have going on here. I was curious about the instance of somebody who was in your situation, Dean, that decided that they weren't the right gender. They wanted to transition, but maybe for whatever reason, be it they live in a country where that's extremely, not tolerated against, or perhaps for financial reasons, they just weren't able to have a sex reassignment surgery. So what would you suggest for people who just plain can't have that operation?
See, that one's a hard one. I have not had any surgeries. I've only been on hormone treatment, like I said, for almost 2 years. November will make 2 years. I do plan on it. I'm not in any rush. There are ways to go about, hiding, I would say. I don't want to use that word, but surgery shouldn't really... surgery, of course, is going to be a big issue in transgender people. It is, the main goal pretty much is, getting the body you were supposed to have, but don't feel like that's the only part of it. Just be comfortable with yourself.
Are you planning on having the surgery?
I am, yes.
Like, when do you have a set date, or when do you think?
Like I said, I'm not in any rush. I do want to do top surgery before bottom, just because, bottom surgery, there's so many risks still with it. I wouldn't want to rush into that and it not work out.
Yeah.
It's a very pricey thing. Money is also an issue with me. It took me a while to get Medicaid, and thankfully Medicaid covers my hormones. Now it doesn't cover everything, so it's working for me. It's not going to work for everybody, but it's working for me. And not everybody wants to have surgery. Sometimes some people are just comfortable with the outside appearance. I'm somewhat one of those people, but also do want the surgery in the long. I'm just not in any rush. When it happens, it happens. For now, I'm happy with what I've got and how I am.
Medicaid covers hormones.
Medicaid does cover. Now, at my doctor's office, I'm not entirely sure how insurance works and things like that. But my doctor's office actually caters to the transgender community. They're partnered up with No AIDS Task Force, so they kind of cater to... now they're available for anyone and everyone, but they pretty much cater to transgender and homosexual communities.
What's the process like? Is there any type of... Is it like you have to prove... that you...
in Louisiana, you don't have to do much. It's pretty much up to your doctor. Depends on your doctor. I know in other states, in other places, you have to go through so much counseling and therapy before you can
that's
start.
what I would think is that... Do you think that would actually, like, there should be steps? Like, go, like, okay, so say you're transgender, you're thinking about the surgery. Do you think that there's certain steps that should be involved? Like, go to counseling first, and then, maybe hormone... therapy as well, and then kind of ease into it like that way, or
I think it just depends on the person, to be honest with you. Like me, I knew I didn't need to talk to anyone about it. Like, I just knew. I knew. But there are some people who aren't sure. That, there were times when I wasn't sure, that I just thought maybe this is just something that I'm thinking about that, I don't really want, or something like that. I think it just depends on the person. I'm not opposed to, requiring therapy before you start any of the hormone treatment or anything like that. But like I said, I believe it just depends on the person, which is why I like how Louisiana does it. They go by your doctor. You talk to your doctor, and you sit down with your doctor, you talk to them, and your doctor will decide if you're ready, or if they think you need a little bit of counseling first to kind of help understand, a little bit more. But like I said, everyone's different.
Everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah.
All right.
What would your advice be to anybody who's questioning their gender?
Just be you. If it's not something you're sure of, don't rush it. Just, take your time. There's so much life to live. There's so much to experience. Don't rush something you're not sure of. Understand it more. Do some research. Talk to somebody. Don't rush anything. And that goes for anything in life. Don't rush something you're not sure of. Just take your time. If I know it's hard. It's a hard thing to understand and a hard thing to do. Easier said than done about taking your time on something like this. But if it's something you're not sure of and you're still trying to figure it out, take your time. Figure it out. there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong about being unsure of the person you're supposed to be. I mean, it's just don't rush it, because this is not something you can turn around and go back and reverse. So if you do it and you realize this wasn't what you wanted, you can't change it. You're kind of stuck. Just take your time.
How do you feel about transgenderism in children? Like, how does that work? Do you feel?
I believe that a child's mind is still growing, is still learning. I think I understand that parents' hearts are in the right place when it comes to those things, but I also think that give it time. Because you don't want to, like I said, their mind is still growing. They're still learning. They're still growing. They're still forming. They're still, the whole body, everything in their body is still.
They're going through hormonal change,
right?
As they're growing up. You
you don't want to stop their puberty before it happens, because that can mess with your mind. Like I told you, like I said in the beginning, hormones have to do with a chemical balance, pretty much, which can affect your brain and your mind and your mindset.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong or it's right. It just, in my opinion, if I had a child that at 5 or 6 years old was telling me that they were supposed to be the opposite gender, that's fine. You are more than welcome. I will gladly, let you dress the way you want. You want to cut your hair, you want to do this, do that. That's fine. But I'm not going to stop what is supposed to happen with your body. I think that every individual person needs to go through that growing stage, especially that young.
I think that's fair. To say that's very fair. I think the other issue we got to look into would be the bullying aspect.
Absolutely.
You got John dressing up as Ashley now, and all the kids know. I think that might play some effect on the child's mental health.
That is absolutely correct. Yes.
And when it comes to puberty suppression, that's craziness to me. That's just absolutely bonkers to me.
Right.
To me, that's bonkers because bonkers. I can't believe I said bonkers.
Let it flow.
No,
man.
to me that's crazy talk because
we have an insane in the membrane button.
You're right. To me, that puberty suppression's a little crazy because, like I said, these kids. I didn't know what the fuck was going on when I was 13. I'm 28 years old. I still barely know what the fuck's going on. I'm comfortable with my body and my sex and all that, but as an adolescent, you don't really know what's going on. You don't know what's going on in your head. You haven't lived life yet.
Exactly.
All you listen to some fucking Green Day songs, showing my age.
Or some
Day songs.
Some Eminem in my side over
well,
here.
Eminem was really anti-gay when he first, started out.
He wasn't. I don't believe Eminem was anti-gay.
I think Eminem just.
I just think he
spit
raps
some
about some
shit
crazy
out
shit
to make some money.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
whatever the fans like,
Sure,
you spit it out pretty much. Yeah.
He's a lot cooler about
Still
gay
love
people
him,
today.
by the way. Still love him.
I love Eminem.
Anti-gay or not, I still love Eminem. Still love him. Eminem, call me.
It's okay for you to be anti-gay, anti-trans, but anybody else, fuck you.
If you're
As long as
listening,
you can
Mr.
rhyme
Marshall,
about
please give me a
it.
call later on. We'll talk.
As long as you put a rhyme about it. My name's Stan, rhymes with man, but I'm a woman. I don't know.
You should take up rapping.
I will. That's actually my next after this.
That's
podcast.
episode. Yeah, it's gonna be the next episode.
The next week's episode.
Tim's
Got
rapping,
it.
episode 2. Should be great.
Basically, people, to wrap up, these are some of the most persecuted people of our time. Transgenderism and gender dysphoria, they're not going anywhere. These are issues that have been identified by the medical profession as something that's not simply a mental illness. Yeah, there may be something to that, but that's not the whole story. We need to seek out a solution to their problem because, like I said, they're not going to be going anywhere. It's actually interesting because 50 years ago, people were saying that homosexuals were mentally ill. And so we have history kind of like repeating itself again and again. But hopefully through this episode, we hope to have shed some light on this issue. Do you have any closing thoughts, Dean?
I just want everyone to realize and understand that just because someone might be transgender, it doesn't mean they're not human. It doesn't mean they're not a normal person. It just means they have a little bit more to their story than anyone else. It just means that there's still things that they're figuring out and dealing with in life. Everyone has their own issues. This is just one of theirs. I don't think it should be looked down upon. I think it should just be understood a little bit more. It's not that, they're doing anything wrong. They're not out there murdering or raping or anything like that. You know, they're just trying to be comfortable in their own body and be comfortable with themselves and find a way to fit into society as that person. I don't think that anyone should think there's anything wrong with it. It's nothing not normal. They're still a human being at the end of the day. They're still going to be one of your closest friends, you know. There's nothing wrong with it. And I just need people to understand that.
Well, Dean, man, I mean, from the heart, man, you're such a good dude, man. We love you, man. You know,
Yes.
there's no... I'm really glad you got to do this, brother, because when we first started thinking about doing this podcast, we wanted to talk about sensitive issues and hard issues, but we wanted to get it out there for to help everybody, to help people understand of that. You know, we could say our jokes, we could go around and goof around with each other, but at the end of the day, this is a serious issue and
Right.
it needs to be taken seriously.
Absolutely.
I hate when I get on the internet and I see anybody struggling with anything getting persecuted against, you know, whether they're transgender, gay, you know, black, you know, whatever it may be, you know, if it's a race issue, gender issue, sex issue, these things need to be brought up and they need to be taken seriously. But I also think that we need to kind of goof around with it, because if we can't laugh with each other, then what the fuck?
Exactly.
You know?
I agree 100%. I mean, at the end of the day, we all bleed the same color, you know.
Yeah. That's green, baby. Money. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, and just if you don't understand, just ask. Don't assume. Just ask. That's a big thing that, you know, a lot of people don't realize, and it's one of my biggest things that I tell people. If you don't understand or you don't know, don't assume. Just ask. You know, and that goes with anything and everything. Just ask. It's not gonna hurt anyone to ask a question. You know, instead it'll hurt more to assume, and then in the long run, you're assuming something that's not even true. You know, and it's a completely different thing. Just ask. Don't assume.
So I know one of your big things that we talked about before doing this podcast is that you wanted people to be able to reach out to you that might be struggling with this.
Yes.
Could you go ahead and throw your email address out there?
Yes, my email is deanlogan11416@gmail.com, and that goes for anyone and everyone, transgender or not. If you you know, any questions or any concerns or any disagreements, anything you have that you just want to talk, and just give me an email, send me one. I'm here.
And you could also comment below if you have any questions for Ryan or I. Comment below, and we'll try to answer those questions to the best of our ability. Dean, thanks for coming out, man.
Thank you for
I
having
appreciate
me.
you, brother.
This was fun.
Let's drink some beer and celebrate this first show, right?
Let's do it.
Haven't we been drinking the whole time?
Yeah, we have. Can't tell.
That was the Highly Skeptical podcast. This is Ryan Starbloke. If you're interested in checking out any of my books, my latest release is a psychological thriller revolving around the failure of the war on drugs. It's called Writer, Seeker, Killer. Go to my website at www.starbloke.com. And if you can't spell that, check in the YouTube notes below.